So the organization I chose is called Cultural Survival, but before I begin my discussion about it, I will provide a bit of a background context to the issues, and then we'll move on to the actual organization. So there are over 7 billion people in the world, 370 million of which are indigenous, and they speak 4,000 languages out of the 7,000 world languages. They come from different backgrounds, from different places, and they have their own traditions, rituals, their own culture, and their own heritage. These figurines are made by the local indigenous people from Guatemala, and they are the descendants of the Maya, the legendary, famous ancient Maya people who predicted the end of the world. But here we are today. So, what are the issues? A lot of the indigenous people face similar issues. Some of them are discrimination, poverty, illiteracy, and lack of resources. So how did the whole problem started? Well, in Guatemala there was a civil war that lasted 36 years, and that put a lot of tension between the local indigenous tribes and the government, because the indigenous people supported the resistance. And you can explain the effects that had on the relationship between the government and the indigenous people. However, the whole civil war was condemned as a genocide of the local indigenous tribes, and since then there has been a lot of work trying to rebuild the trust between the government and the indigenous people, the Maya people. This image here is a recent photo from 2012, and it's, as you can see, people carrying their... it's like an exhumation of the remains of the people who fell victims to the genocide. Let's actually go to the topic itself, cultural survival. So who are they? Well, they were founded in 1972 by an anthropologist called David Maybury Lewis and his wife Pia. They are non-profit and are indigenous-led. That's important because in their board of directors there are people with indigenous backgrounds, and then they can have a more accurate understanding of the issues at hand. They support and empower indigenous communities. How exactly? We'll learn in a bit. Through community media, providing workshops, training in investigative journalism, radio production, things like that, to help the local communities learn more about their rights and be an active participant in their community. One of the most popular media is actually community radio, because of its content, which is relatively easy to produce and cheap and easy to produce. Again, it's a really popular medium, especially in Guatemala. As you can see, it's one of the main mediums where people can learn about their rights, speak their languages, share their culture with the rest of their community members. However, due to regulations, community radio has been made illegal in Guatemala, which has raised a lot of issues, because the station managers and the people involved in community radio production are being imprisoned. The stations are being raided. So I'm going to show you a clip, a part of a documentary from Cultural Survival, that's going to give you a bit of a better understanding of the actual issue with the community radio stations in Guatemala. Let's have a look.
A través del Ministerio Público son allanadas las radios, son encarcelados los comunicadores, son decomisados los equipos también. Es una situación con la que nos estamos enfrentando todos los días.
Pues la verdad es que sí me siento asustada, porque el allanamiento que fue hace 2 años, creo, me da miedo ver a los ministerios públicos, a la policía, porque sabemos muy bien de que ellos nos persiguen.
Nosotros no queríamos que exigir el equipo, porque teníamos miedo. No queremos parar en la cárcel mientras que nosotros estamos trabajando, no estamos haciendo algo malo, pero aún así uno le da miedo enfrentar esas situaciones con los grandes empresarios que están en contra de las radios comunitarias.
So as you saw, it's quite a big issue, and the challenge now here is to actually help establish local community radio networks and help people be active participants in the media production process. Their approach, I think it's a pretty straightforward approach. Human rights advocacy, being able to advocate for your rights independently. Legal defense support, that's a big thing, because like if you're producing content that's illegal in your own country, you might as well need to know how to be able to legally justify why you're doing that and be able to defend yourself in court. Community media workshops like radio production, investigative journalism, important stuff as well. And nowadays are interesting. The grant schemes Cultural Survival runs literally funds all of the above mentioned things they're doing, like the workshops, the legal counseling, the advocacy. And then the bazaars are what I found really interesting, is because they allow indigenous members to, community members to actually sell things they've made within the community, like to share goods with the Western world. That way they can help fund their projects, and they actually allow people to learn more about their culture. Again, this is an ongoing issue, so the struggle continues, but cultural survival is there, and I hope they sooner or later are going to be able to help.
Hey, 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 hey.